Yo, what is going on? What's going on? It's Terrell, Hall of Fame, D-Lad, TBKC, and all that other sweet, beautiful, wonderful shit. This video is actually about, and no one take this the wrong way, but let's talk about rumors and shit like that when it comes to our practices in the bully world. And one of the ideas, and a friend of mine's, he sent me a message and he said, "Hey, what's the deal when we talk about what the female brings to the table versus what the male brings to the table versus, all that good stuff?" And for a long time, it's been thought that, the female brings, I've heard different percentages, 60%, 70%, 75% to the table. The male brings 25%. The truth of the matter is that it's a lot more scientific than that. The female brings 50%. The male brings 50%. Now, how those percentages mesh, it's determined by dominance, the dominant traits behind each dog, And sometimes what it is it's like one big ass equation, and let's just say, for instance, to break it down and make it simpler, some dogs like Remy. Remy through a look, constantly through a look. And so whatever that reason was, his look was very dominant. He had a dominant trait that could dominate the girls' genetics, and sometimes those girls' genetics helped that, because he would have, they would breed him to dogs a lot of times that were that had similar genetics to him, so they would produce the same look. But that was a dominant gene in him. It didn't have anything to say that the 50% that the female brought wasn't adequate. It's just his genetics was dominant in that case. Now, when it came to, like, shoulders, and you would have dogs like, I think, what's his name, Futuristic, just big ass shoulders, just wide, crazy shoulders, and you would see his dogs. I judged him and a group of his dogs in a producer show. All of his dogs had these wide ass shoulders and big broad chests. It was the dominant genes in him that produced this, because of course not every female had those traits. So that would debunk the theory that the female brings more to the table right there, on both of those cases. But in certain cases, the female does carry the litter. Now, in certain traits. Now, what this does, and many times we've talked about compounding a pedigree and understanding a pedigree, whether it's the male or the female, or sometimes in both cases, we have to understand the dominant characteristics of those dogs. We would like to say that the dominant characteristics would always come through, and we would take the dominant characteristics of one dog and put it towards this and try to make a complete dog. It doesn't always work out like that. But you want to compound a pedigree to say you're going for head. You want to have a female that has genetics behind her to produce a certain type of head, the head that you're looking for, and you want the male to have that same trait. If it's shoulders, you want to do the same thing. Feet, you want to do the same thing. You want to compound these, and this is where we talk about perfection at, and it'll adhere to the next video I'm about to do. But you want, it's in these genetics, it's not a male or a female thing. It's about the quality of the genetics behind the male or the female. You cannot take a trash female and breed her to a great stud and have a bunch of great puppies. It doesn't work that way. Her genetics will influence even his greatness. In the puppy, you might get one great puppy that just totally took after the dad. You might get lucky and get a couple. Yeah, excuse me. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, when it boils down to it, you have to have good genetics on both sides to create the type of dog you want. This is why we see in other breeds, and it doesn't matter what the breed is that they take the best specimens from both, the male and the female, and put those dogs together. In the American bully world, we have the weirdest idea of taking an average female to a super stud, and no one ever takes a super female to an average stud, but maybe. But if you're going to build your yard up, you have to get females. That's where the female part comes in. I think that's where the whole legend of that started. A great female is going to outproduce an average female. And we see those litters where a great female is put to a great male, and the puppies will come out from you know, to favor her in a lot of the cases, and we feel like the female dominated the litter. The female dominated the litter. Well, what it was is that you finally put two dogs on the same level into this breeding, and now you're seeing the female shine. But if you notice, when you take great producers and you put them to more average females that wouldn't outshine them, then it's the stud that did the work. Oh, he producing, he producing, he producing. So really, it's not a thing of, once again, the female does more or the male does more. It's just about who you're putting in that's better. You know, you can, like I say, you can take, you know, an average stud and put him to a great female, and more than likely, you know, she's going to get the credit when they're great dogs. They're not going to give him credit for being a bad stud when he gets a couple of runts that look terrible. They're just going to talk about the best dogs in the litter. So generally, once a breeding is made, it's already decided who's going to get credit for this litter. You know, that's just the way it is. If you bring in a badass female and she's outshining that male, trust and believe, if that litter is incredible litter, they're going to say that female did the thing. You know, it was the case when I made Denzel. You know, Gargoyle was a very nice male. Very nice male. You know, he had a couple flaws, but he was a very nice male. But Hallie, greatest female in breed history. Who do you think got credit for the whole litter? Everybody always talks about, even when they talk about the litter, they say the Hallie Gargoyle litter. They put her name first on the banner, and actually it was a great combination of both dogs, because Gargoyle brought a lot to the litter. The head structures on the dogs, his head structure was by far better than Hallie's, and a lot of the dogs in that litter had great head structure. You know, including Denzel, Rome, Biggie, Barack. All those dogs had great head structure. That came from Gargoyle, but the size and the mass actually came from Hallie. Now, you know, me being the one that did that litter, I always hear people give all the credit to Hallie, the Hallie B blood. And it was really a true mixture of what Gargoyle brought to the table, being a Paco son and being line bred the way he was, you know, heavy Cairo. He brought a ton to the table, but the star is always going to get the banner of it. You never hear about the females that Remy was bred to. No one ever says that the females, you know, dominated a Remy litter, because Remy was such a dominant producer. You know, but if you would have put him to a female that was on his level, then the argument would have started. So, you know, in genetics, period, you need both. You know, you need male, female. There's no differential in who puts in what. You know, we know that one decides the sex of the kids. I think it's the male that decides the sex of the puppies or whatever. The female actually decides how many puppies there's going to be, because she's the one's producing the eggs. But, you know, at the end of the day, you need two dogs. We can't believe those percentages things. And until next time, y'all, much love. Peace.